Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's been more on the road with Bernard, more the third, presented to you by More and More Sports Management. Nothing but more is what we are all about. Now, I know you say things a little different right now. So, again, this is why I really enjoy my show because it's more on the road. We can travel anywhere. Thank you to today's technology, we can go anywhere we want to and do what we have to do. So, whoever created this stuff, thank you. And hopefully, we're using to the greater good to give God his blessing. We're here at Camper World, 4601 I-55 South Furnace Road in Jackson, Mississippi. Man, I walked in and I see some couches, some love seats and stuff in the front of the store. I guess they want to welcome me and to come in to have a seat. And I was just sitting, I said, I know I need a new recliner because my wife is asking for one. And I saw this, like, man, this look nice, but then it had a color. So we may have to do some of the odd color scheme, but hey, whatever. Again, this is More on the Road. Bernard Moore the third, presented to you by More and More Sports Management. We're at Camper World at 4601 I-55 South Furnace Road, Jackson, Mississippi. Finna talk about camping. But today, joining me, we have a special guest. He's a salesman here at Camper World. So when you need your camper, he was telling about a camper that he was selling a customer. And the thing about what he stated, good salesmen know how to take care of the customer. Now he told me that they had to go on a trip to go get something because they were trading it in, and he took the time out of his schedule to go get it and brought it back, and they made a trade and made a deal. Now I don't want to go into all the details about it, but what he shared with me now. So that's what takes a good salesman to definitely be there for their customers. And I know it's not just because he's a salesman, but he's also a child of God. So I know there's nothing but God just bless him with the opportunity to do what he do. But joining me today, as you can see, is Mr. CJ McLean. How you doing today, Coach?
Hello, how are you, sir?
All right. Well, Coach, I know you got us here at Camp where I know I'm come bombarding your job and stuff for you to just spend some time with me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we love it. It's technically Camping World, so
Okay.
with the ing, but great, man. We love having you. Anything I can do to get involved with Bernard Moore and More Management.
What's going on here at Camping World?
Camping World here off I-55 South. It's exit 88, Elton Road, and we are the world's number one retailer in RV sales. There is no number two. And then how I set myself apart with what you were saying is my customer service. There are 200 locations, and I tell people when you go to a camping world, they're going to be marvelous people, but they won't be as awesome as I am. And I put a lot of effort into that. Getting outside of my desk and getting outside of my normal routine anytime a customer needs.
Now, with that being a customer friendly individual that are you doing it for self or?
Well, it's integrity. It would definitely lead to me. First of all, I'm a sinner. I'm a child of God in that sense, and what you see is the grace that God has displayed upon my life. I put that into my customers. You don't have to earn my respect. You're going to get it to the nth degree just for showing up. Now if you lose it, then that's something that you have to. We'll work on that at that point in time. But everybody gets the utmost respect and treat every person that comes in here the exact same.
Now with the campers, how is it? I know we have, again, with today's technology increases, not you just jump in the camper and you hit the highway and you go set up somewhere. You lose your technology sometimes. You just really enjoy the environment.
Sure enough.
But now you have all this technology that y'all pouring into the campers with Wi-Fi, television, satellite. Well, AMF radio is out the door right now.
They got some radio in there still.
Yeah, no, sir, but it's kind of everybody want to listen to download all their music
Bluetooth
and
your
stuff.
phone is another popular way to connect your audio device. Whatever you listen to on your phone, you can just Bluetooth it right to the camper.
And see, and that's what I mean by today's technology. But how are they family friendly campers? Especially one with a younger generation, teenagers and children these days. They want all the connection, play video games, and all the plugs and stuff.
Yeah, so there are two different ways to, I guess, mindsets. A lot of people pick campers solely for adventure, and they don't want to be distracted by the ability to hook up, take care of your stuff. So they'll say, man, just give us the most basic one, just enough room for us to get into and sleep. So that's why what we do is an extensive needs analysis, and that sets us apart from any other dealership I know in the state of Mississippi. And what we do is we're going to take time to sit down and talk to you about where you're going, who's going to go with you. And instead of you having to see every camper outside to determine which one's going to work, I've already seen those campers. I go in and out of them. I know which one has the higher ceiling, which one has the bathroom, the size, the way that you are describing you would be comfortable. And I usually do a good job of directing the customer to the camper that works for them. But that's why Camper World is so different, because we do a matchmaking section. Most, we won't talk about our competitors, but most of them will just send you out and say, come back in when you find the one. Well, how that's going to be incredibly missing. There's a lot of information that's going to be missing from your ability to determine which one is different from the other. You go in, you say, this one looks great. And then you get home, you don't know how to use it. Or it's maybe not that great. It just had a lot of RVs use visual as opposed to actually putting the money into the construction. They put it into what you see.
Wow.
So I'll be able to tell you the difference, how the manufacturers, the trim levels will set themselves apart.
Now with that, I know how you saying you matchmaking, and I know you're a former athlete. You play under some great coaches and leaders that taught you how to say put the round orange thing into a basket with a board behind it. Do you translate your coaching, where the teaching from your coaches, into sales also?
Yes. The answer is yes. And I have been tremendously blessed to brush up against some of America's top coaches in every level, from high school to college and even in the pros. And so what I learned from them is, first of all, it doesn't do any good to take the credit. A good leader does not take much of the credit, but he takes all of the blame. And so that's something that I pour into my job here. If there's something going wrong, I may ask for someone to help me with it. But if it just goes wrong, it's because I couldn't effectively complete the task. It's not because my coworker didn't do or my boss didn't do. And so that's the attitude I take in every day at work.
Now, I know in sales, sometimes it's very competitive. And again, you have that athletic drive because you're a former athlete, and especially on the basketball court. And I know you went to the University of Arkansas, Razorback. Now, we're not going to go around here and see you're in Mississippi now. You're either going to ring the cowbells and going to say hotty toddy, or you're going to say D.I. Love, or you're going to say Southern Miss to the top. We're not going to say no Sue.
Yeah,
but,
that's fair.
But with that, in competition wise, I know you have that competitive spirit, but you work together as a team. How's that transition again from coming from athletics into sales?
Well, I have historically been like a team captain, a number one pick. A lot of the things that a lot of people would say would put me at the top of athletics. Well, that itself, I learned about how important my teammates are. So now that I'm actually not the number one salesperson here, I relish my role as a teammate. And so it's a new opportunity for me to support those others. And I know that God's going to provide financially for me. But my focus comes in on being the very best teammate that I can be. Anytime one of these guys need a hand, a help, anything that I can do, I just stop and I deliver that to them. And I expect, it doesn't always work this way, but I expect that to come back to me when I do need some help as well.
Now, does that training come from the employee level, or does it come from above, saying that we'll work together as a team? Because sometimes, not saying that that's out here at Camping World.
Yeah.
So I've been in sales and I work around a lot of different managers, and sometimes they say is to each his own and focus on self and go out and sell instead of working together as a team.
Well, with my experience, I would say I possess a toolkit that no one else on this location could bring. Even my general manager to my sales manager, they've been tremendous experience in the sales industry. But I always tell them, man, I've been on some of the greatest and worst teams that there are. So that's an experience that you can't buy. You couldn't buy your way into college football if you were a gazillionaire. If what's the guy named Elon Musk wanted to be a college football quarterback, he could not. no matter how much money, maybe if he bought his own university, that would be an example. But as far as the network that we have, the schools you see on ESPN, there's no way to get into that without earning it. So, that's something that when allowed, I share with my teammates. My coworkers here, level examples of being helpful to each other. Seeing someone who's struggling and not just walking by because you're on your way to do something for your own self. Stop and taking time to get them back on track, and then proceed, because you never know when you might need that person.
Yeah, I can say that I received that welcoming spirit once I walked into the door. They greeted me, "Welcome to Camping World. Now, how can I help you?" And I asked for you, and said, "Well, just one moment. I just saw him. He's on a golf cart back to back. Let me give him a call." And the gentleman asked the young lady, "Hey, do you have his number?" Because he's going to pull out his cell phone, and they call. And so I guess that team spirit is still, like I said, it welcomes you in at the door.
Sure.
And that right there presents a good business, is that as soon as you enter into a store, because sometimes even when people enter in the store, not just Camping World, any store, any business, if they're not welcome, sometimes they just turn around and go back, especially some dealing with sale. Well, any store you walk in, somebody going to sell you something, especially dealing in this type of industry where you need information about what you stated, said that you can go around and provide information on all the campers because you took time out to walk around and learn each camper, which is good. I don't know if I can retain a lot of this information though, but that's good. And so, and again, when I walked in, I felt that welcoming spirit. Now, let's transition on something beside Camping World, because we're going to get back to it as well. Now, I know that you are a part of this organization, Mississippi Coaches Alliance. Tell us about Mississippi Coaches Alliance.
Mississippi Coaches Alliance is a nonprofit organization that we focus in on community outreach, safety awareness, and cultural sensitivity, organizational development techniques. And those elements of youth sports usually have been less than supported, not very heavily supported. So youth teams, they're usually operating on their own. And there are techniques that have been developed in higher leagues. Like I said, I had the experience of being coached by some of the greater coaches in American football history. So what I try to take into the organization are techniques that will help organizations themselves grow and better use their resources. Because, if you spin your wheels trying to accomplish something, banging your head up against the wall, you usually run out of energy at some point. So that's where Mississippi Coaches Alliance comes in. We do a few simple things. First, we celebrate the coaches. That's our number one goal, is to celebrate and support the coaches. And then second of all, we would invite them to allow us to help them develop techniques that will help them be more productive. And then the last thing that we'll do at Mississippi Coaches Alliance is love on the community and the student athletes. So that's we've got a few events. I don't know if it's time to lead into this. We've got a few events scheduled for 2023. First event will be a football for moms, which you will see us partnered with the Alzheimer's Association and a couple other local businesses. Of course, Bank of England Mortgage is one of our major supporters as well. We're working with Breast Cancer and American Cancer Society to get them to come out and do some presentation there. But our main partner is the Alzheimer's Association. Football for Moms will be on Black Friday. That'll be at 6 p.m. at the Baptist Healthplex. And we're going to invite all of the mothers. And it's not just the moms. It's a fundamental of footballs. So it won't just be moms if you are lacking in your knowledge of how football was created, how the rules work. But mostly, if you look back, moms show up at the games. They're always there. But they didn't play the sport. So they didn't know, they weren't ever taught them the technical aspects of it, what it means. My wife herself, she's very versed in football, but then a lot of moms just are not versed in the rules.
Yeah.
Simple things like, did you know football has been around for nearly 2,300 years? A lot of people don't know that. In America, football was nearly banned 2 or 3 times in like the 1900s because the game would spill over in such a violent out, and the crowd would get involved. There were cheat tactics that included injuring players from the sideline who were on the field. So that a lot went on in American football, and technically, football is at its safest point in its history now, due to new education. That some of the things that we would also support, safety awareness,
Yeah.
and the simple technology has now changed to make football at its safest point ever.
Yeah, I know. I spoke some previous shows in reference to rules and regulation. Rules were created to have some type of organization.
Yeah.
And sometimes when there's no organization, there's chaos. People going around, as the old saying, running around like a chicken with the head cut off. And yes, football is a barbaric sport. Even some of our greats in the NFL, when the NFL first established, you had the club, you had dirty guys taking jokers to
Knees
the
out.
jaw. They just doing a lot of stuff. And I'm glad that that they finally collectively came up with rules and regulations to kind of control some of those injuries. But now you see the athletes, they're faster, they're stronger due to today's technology. They're recovering faster than from injuries. But back in the day, they played with broken legs and didn't think nothing of it.
Yeah. Like you were saying that because of the speed of the athlete now, you see a lot more violent hits.
Yes.
It's just because they're stronger, faster, but the game itself is as safe as it has ever been when coached appropriately and played appropriately. So that's where Mississippi Coaches Alliance comes into the picture, trying to help coaches learn better ways to practice, better techniques of tackling. One of our main goals, and then especially in the youth corridor, we focus in on providing certification. If you're a youth coach, you've got a program, you do need to be certified with USA Football. There are certain steps that you can go to get that certification, and if you need that information, of course, we'll be there to help you with that.
But again, this is More on the Road with Bernard Moore III, presented to you by More and More Sports Management. We're here live at Camping World, 4601 I-55 South Frontage Road, right there on the corner of Elton Road and I-55 South. For more information, you can give them a call at 601-258-8399. See the team here at Camping World. Well, first come and ask for Coach McCain, because he invited us into his job. I come interrupt him at his job, but I really appreciate you for allowing us to come here. Now, speaking in reference to youth sport, when you were growing up, not trying to talk about your age, you display your age. When you were coming up, youth sport was not as important then compared to, you didn't really start playing unless you had like a summer league or either you got to middle school.
Yeah.
It was very it's very low in elementary, unless you played for the YMCA or some other type of
organization.
But now it's becoming a big thing.
Yeah, it's $1 million industry. I think almost $14 million a year only spent from the parent side on youth sports. So it's a major entity in America now, and there still needs to be some steps to backtrack, to catch up with the technology, to catch up with organizational development, and make sure that you're running a good program, and make sure that you're doing things that are safe. And also, one of the things, we're a faith-based organization, and we learn that you can't do anything without God. So if you're out there, you're thinking that, man, what's missing from my team is a new quarterback. Well, I need to learn how to run the 4-3. What could be simply missing from your team, the missing piece, is the peace of the God of peace.
Now, I'm glad you said that in reference to religion. Now, the word states that train up a child which is to follow. If he depart, he shall return back. A lot of children, especially today's youth, they see the religious base as hypocritical. They see that you telling us XYZ, but you're doing ZYX.
Yes, sir.
Now, how can we win our children back? Because again, growing up, sometimes if depending on your household, you was in church Sunday, Wednesday, as I say, every day, every time the doors of the church open, you were there. Either you was being an usher, you was singing in the choir, you was helping in the kitchen, you was doing something. Today's youth, you say, hey, come on, let's go to church. They take off running. Or sometimes they just come out blatantly and say, I'm not going to church. And sometimes the parents say, forget it, they go.
Yes, sir.
What can we do to continue to bring that youth back to church?
Well, the first thing that, again, Mississippi Coaches Alliance has developed, we're actually going to host an event called the Coaches Prayer Breakfast. It'll be focused around JPS coaches. That'll be youth, middle school, and high school, but focusing in on the middle school and high school coaches because they are the first contact. And that's the most important part of getting them back into understanding how important God is that delivering to the coaches how important God is. You can't read a script when you're coaching and you're out there talking to your kids. If it's not in your heart, you're not going to just pull out a script and say, oh, today I'm supposed to remind y'all that God is awesome. No, it's got to be a life that you live. So one of the things that I have learned is you can't also hit somebody in the face with it. You can't say, man, you got fire and brimstone was a very popular way of teaching about God. Well, what we do is work another angle in it. And we should display the love of God in all of our activities. And then once that heart is open, we'll deliver to them a message that explains that, hey, this opportunity exists to you because God gave you the power and the ability to do what you're doing in these youth lives. That's going to pour out. Drinking, sexual irresponsibility, those are things that are fairly common in our community, and so we're not putting down anybody who still involves themselves in it because I personally was a victim. I said victim. I made choices that were horrible as far as my body is concerned, the temple of God. So those are things that we have to deliver to the coaches first before we can attempt to make any difference in the kids.
Yeah, and with that, now kind of pivot back to youth sports. I know you stated about the certification is we're trying to make it where the coaches are certified and go through some type of proper training instead of just getting out there telling, hey, kid, you go knock him out when he get the ball, or you just go run over him. You just block and push the first person you see that's in a different color jersey. Some coaches are not teaching the kids fundamentals.
Yeah.
They just see the biggest kid out there. Now he is of age, but his body just developed different. Yeah. And they put him back in the backfield, put him in quarterback, say, get the ball, you just take off running. And you see some kids, they're afraid of even just tackling they got, and he just running all over everybody.
Sure enough.
And I know I've spoken with a good friend of mine, Jimmy Smith, and he was telling me about a program that his son came up when he was playing with the Jaguars. Yeah. And allowing the kid play every position, not just saying, hey, your size, your offense level, hey, you look good, you play quarterback, hey, your size, just put you at running back. He said that the program that he brought his sons up in, they play every position, try out every position, and see which one that they enjoy, which one that they like. We're still in process of trying to implement a program like that, especially here in inner city. Yeah. We're still working on it. We got this. We got the blueprint. We just need to go ahead and start building it.
Yeah.
Now I'm glad that we connect. So now I can talk to him. We can definitely go ahead and start building because now we got a core of coaches that really want to help make a difference. With all that being said, with the certificate, are you teaching the coaches say, hey, really teach the guys fundamental blocking, teach them fundamental running, teach them fundamental how to tackle, because poor tackling can lead to injury.
Sure enough. And that's where we are standing firm in the gap, in the middle ground. And with poor coaches, they're judged solely by wins and losses.
Yeah.
No matter if it's youth coach, if you're a youth coach and you are fired up about God and talking about him, got the kids loving and praying and responsible and accountable in every way, but they keep losing, they're going to move you. They're going to find another person to do it. So you gotta love on those coaches first and help them to understand that, yes, we want you to win, but also we want you to teach good sportsmanship, teach good technique. That takes relationship. And so that's where, and the same thing with anything that you're trying to deliver to one of these kids, it takes relationship. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. It's the same focus that we use at Mississippi Coaches Alliance.
Now, in basketball, I know that's your bread and butter. Mm-hmm. AAU has completely it boomed over the past few years. And a lot of the AAU teams are You can somewhat say all-star teams. They have trials and they select, pick some of their players, or even sometimes the AAU coach will go and recruit a player because they're watching the different high school games. How do you think AAU has played a hindrance in development good high school, middle school basketball team?
Man, I played with some kids out at the Arc, of course. Shout out to Charles Lewis and the Development Academy out there, right there on McDowell Road, Terry Road.
Raymond.
Raymond Road. Raymond. So right there, the Arc, look it up. The Arc is a beautiful place where you can go, and kids are allowed to come out, work on their game. So there's a lot of fundamentals missing. Every kid there doesn't work with Charles in training.
Yeah.
So the ones that are just out there, all they want to do is step back three. They're picked, and the team's going the other way. And they're like, man, the other four guys are standing on, well, why? Well, so fundamentals are extremely important in every game. I think in basketball, AAU has definitely affected that. And AAU is even influential in kids' choices for colleges. They're directing kids to certain colleges, which the thing, like you were saying about letting every kid have the experience at every position, it's the same thing in AAU basketball. You just don't know where you're going to end up. So what we do is we focus in on the 96% or 94%, I guess would be, because 6% of kids will only get a chance to go further in their education as far as sports. So that leaves millions of kids that still need care, that still need training. So we focus in on the fundamentals. That gives every kid, a lot of times, just growing that gap where kids who may not have had a chance to go on to college are now getting that opportunity.
In reference to especially fundamentals in any type of athletic sport, a lot of the youth or even some professional guys, they really lack the basic fundamentals of how to play the game. Lay the ball up on the right side, which right hand, block out with your left hand, or lay the ball up with your left hand on the left side. And they trying to go up with the left and come around and do the Michael Jordan stuff. And that's what they practice. And you say it's error. I mean, practice gets error. Yeah. I even tell my son, they doing this. I said, son, don't just work on that. Work on basically dribbling. How can you dribble? Pick up your speed dribbling, or dribble low, dribble high. Work on crossover. Don't handle that, because some of those moves that those players are doing, those are situational moves. Yeah. And it's not going to be the same situation all the time. So you just get the basic down, and you know how to handle yourself when that situation presents itself.
Yes, sir. Like you said, the basics are what is missing a lot. But when you become a professional, and like in our sense, in the employment world, it's going to be the basics that help you succeed. So you got to look past the NBA, NFL, or even MLB. There are a lot of baseball players come out of Jackson, Mississippi. You got to look past those professional opportunities and remember that everybody's going to be a professional at something. That's why the focus needs to be fundamentals. It's not that your kid's not good enough to play in the pros, but statistically speaking, 90+% of them will never get that opportunity. So we got to teach and train them what to do as far as everyday professionals.
Yeah. Now, what you're saying that I know, again, as a parent and as a coach, sometimes we're teaching our athletes or our children to make it to the pros, but some of us are not teaching them how to be a coach, or either sometimes how to be an owner of those particular teams. And my son and I having a conversation. We're talking now. He just brought it to my attention. I don't know how all of a sudden he just found a love for soccer. So he's sitting here. He go to the store, we get a FIFA video game, and he's been watching soccer. I know that we have the World Cup going, the ladies' World Cup. So he's just been fascinated about soccer right now. I'm not sure why, but hey, I still got to support. And he said, Dad, I want to own a soccer team. And so he said, I found something where I can be part ownership of a soccer team. And so it kind of intrigued me. And I said, hey, you're an athlete. You want to play sport. Now you want to figure out how to own something. Mm-hmm. And so I need to hurry up and jump on that. Yeah. To teach him that you want to be an owner, don't be not saying there's nothing wrong with you playing, but then you become the owner. That's something totally different, because you can see a lot of the owners in any major league and professional sports. A lot of them really didn't play. No. They just ran up on some wealth, and an investor came and said, hey, man, you got enough money to have to go try to buy that team.
Sure. They're tremendous businessmen. We'll call them that.
Yes.
Wherever that wealth flowed from, you got to have a lot of money usually to be in an ownership position. But that's where teaching finance, investment, those things, and simply being the ultimate professional might put you in a position where you could be an owner. But you get the opportunity as a player to learn the game from the inside. So that's another advantage that you'll have if you can learn the investments. You can learn how to move and shake in the business world, but you can also learn the game itself from the inside. So when you put yourself in that ownership, leadership position, you understand your players better, which essentially in a business, it's your commodity. We call it, it's kind of a rough term, but it is we are a physical commodity in a professional sports game. So as an owner, you want to make sure to have healthy players playing underneath you. You want to be able to learn that when you are a player, how to nurture those needs.
Again, this is More on the Road with Bernard Moore III, presenting to you about more and more sports management. Nothing but more is what we are all about. I would like more information about what we do. You can log on to our website, www.mms-management.com. Like us on Facebook and Twitter and all the different social media sites. If you want to get to our YouTube channel, again, go to the website, because there's a lot of more and more coming up in your search engine. Not just trying to talk about, say it's a lot of us, but a lot come up when you type in more and more. Again, we're live at Camping World, 4601 I-55 South Furnace Road, Jackson, Mississippi. Give them a call at 601-258-8399 if you definitely would like to look at a camper. Now, I know, as I said, especially individuals that have children and they're going to college. So when you travel to those different games or travel to the different colleges out of state, you can just take your camper. It'll save you money on hotels and stuff, and you have your own house on wheel. And I've seen some retired individuals sold their house and they got them an RV and camping. I was like, man, this is something. And it's not no rinky dink. I've seen some ones, they was up in the millions. I can't think of the name of it, but I was at the Mississippi Dixie National Rodeo, and I saw a camper come through from, I think they was from Montana, and they were down here attending the Dixie National Rodeo. And man, I saw it was humongous. And they said, yeah, we sold it. We sold a house and our children live here. We'll just go pull up in their driveway and we'll sleep in our vehicle. We're not interrupting the family, whatever. And so we'll have our house on us. Like, man, that's kind of neat. It'll save a lot of money, but up front it's going to be a lot, but it'll save you in the long run. So definitely come on out to Camping World, because I saw one just drove by. It was a big, nice one. It kind of completely blocked the sun out the office where we at, but definitely come take a look at it. Now, and speaking in reference to ownership of a professional team, now it seems like there's been an increase of former players, former greats becoming ownership, some in their particular sport that they played in and some in other sports. What's your thought on that?
Well, you got to give credit to Michael Jordan, the original, when it comes to player/owners. But then people like A-Rod have stepped into ownership as well. I am a huge fan of LeBron James, and not only does he own a portion of major sports teams, but then he created his own movie studio, production studio. So those are branches that you can take. This goes back into investment. You can take the money that you earn, which I consider the professional ranks like a bonus prize. You take that money that you earn and now turn around and really affect change. It should not be seen as a way to go buy cars, a way to go buy big houses. Your house can only be so big before you got stuff you'll never use. So you want to take that money and reinvest it into your community or reinvest it into businesses that's going to lead generational wealth. This is something that's missing from generations of minorities, and not necessarily only Black minorities, but then minorities throughout the world, where you're learning that you get a windfall of money. You don't go spending at the club or at the car dealership or buy a big old brand new and I know I've seen guys with houses on each coast. How much time can you spend on one coast? 2 or 3 days here and there? Well, that's a waste. So you took that money, instead of having it set in these examples, you use it and reinvest it into for a professional sports team or other businesses, where now you're providing yourself a financial freedom throughout your lifetime.
Yeah, and reference to that, I know my mentor. I've actually had him on the show. Benjamin Wilson. He's an attorney based out of Washington. Well, he's a retired attorney based out of Washington D.C. now. He's been my mentor. He's helped me into the sporting entertainment industry.
Yeah.
I called upon him because I was pursuing to be an NFL sports agent, and I worked up under him. He showed me the game, and he told me one of his clients. I'm not going to mention his name. One of his clients that he signed had an opportunity to play in the NFL. Now he was great. He was that type of player that he was going to get drafted. And as a college student, you see some of your teammates or guys that you played against or guys that you played with from that in high school that went to other schools, and they riding around in these nice vehicles. They got drafted. They coming back to the school, just say, "Hey man, look what I got. Look what I bought." Yada yada yada. And Mr. Wilson said his client, he wanted a new car, and so he advised him, "No, I would advise you not to get a new car because up front, the agent or the management team, whatever, or the financial advisor is not informing you that, yes, you haven't signed the contract yet, but you're going to have to pay that money back. They're not telling you up front. And so you want a new car? Sure, no problem. Let's go to the dealership and get you the car." And so that client kept on asking Mr. Wilson, can we go get a car? He said, "No, just wait." And so he constantly, repeatedly saying over and over again, "Can I get in the car? Can I?" He said, "No, just wait." And so he finally bought into it and said, "Yes, I'll wait." He was drafted into the NFL. He was drafted into the NFL, and then he stated that I got a phone call. He said, "Who you get a phone call from?" I got a phone call from a local dealership that wanted me to come and sign some autographs. Okay, what's the compensation? A new car. So he got him a new car free. I don't think he had you just sign an autograph.
Yeah, that's a great deal. I mean, you can actually, instead of taking your money, like I said, that you're gaining on money that you don't even have yet,
yes,
and putting it into a depreciating asset, you can use your talents. You can do trade-offs where you can actually get those perks and benefits as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Coach, I know, like I said, we can't interrupt you at your job. I really appreciate your time, man. Now, is there anything else that you want to share with our listener followers before we're going to let you go?
Yeah, I just want to make for certain that you guys like and share our Facebook page and Instagram page. It's Mississippi Coaches Alliance, and be on the lookout for some community events that we'll be hosting here in the Jackson and Central Mississippi area.
Yes, and yes, you will be seated on our page as well now, because I'm a part of their organization also. I was just newly invited and accepted, so I'm definitely going to be making a difference in the community with the Mississippi Coaches Alliance. So definitely stay tuned for more. You're going to see it on my Facebook page. You're going to see it all over. We definitely going to try to come make a difference in the community, man. I really appreciate you guys' time. Now it's time for us to get out of here and go have some fun and go play in some campers right now here at Camping World. Again, if you want to come by 4601 I-55 Furnace Road in Jackson, Mississippi, ask for Coach McClain. He definitely has knowledge information about the campers, man. Much love to you guys. 1 + 1 = deuces.
No P emergency.